Manase Katha.
Continuing our conversation, I would like to ask a question from Nilu. Nilu, what about younger Sri Lankans? Are young Sri Lankans redefining what a respectful marriage looks like? What are your views, Nilu, on this?
Yes, Dish, actually, slowly but surely, young Sri Lankans are beginning to reshape what a respectful marriage means today. Unlike past generations, like probably our generation, many young people now see marriage not just as a duty of tradition, but as a partnership, one that must be built on communication, emotional safety, and also mutual consent actually. Especially in urban areas, we are seeing more couples talk openly about their needs, their boundaries, and how they want to grow together, not just live together. Because current generations are really advanced and they are not hesitant to express their genuine views to their partner. Respect in marriage today is no longer just about fulfilling roles. In as per my way, it's about listening. It's about giving space to the other. It's about understanding that love isn't proven through sacrifice alone, but through care, choice, and also trust. So more young women are using their voice, asking for shared decisions and saying no when something doesn't feel right, which is something we should be happy about. And young men too are beginning to unlearn the belief that intimacy is owed, and instead learning that consent is part of real love. Even though we still have a long way to go with this regard, these quietly shifts, this actually shows something really powerful. The new generation is not rejecting marriage, they are reimagining it, they are recreating it. Not as a contract of silence, but as a conversation of care. So I think the trend is keep changing, and their ability to voice their feelings, their attitudes, their expressions are getting much more, I think improved these days, Dishna.
Yeah, so Nilu, now bringing it back to the topic of sexual health and marital rape and concepts like that about bodily autonomy and mutual care. How do you think the younger couples nowadays, how do you think they balance cultural traditions with new understandings? Um, what are your views? I know you mentioned that there is a change, but how do you think that they are, that bodily autonomy and mutual care when it comes to sexual health? How are they balancing them these days?
Yes, Dish, they do balance really well. Younger couples in Sri Lanka are walking in a very delicate path, actually, trying to honor the values passed down from their families, while also embracing a more personal, conscious way of loving and living. Many still respect the cultural significance of marriage, the rituals, the roles, the idea of unity. But what is changing is how they define the unity. More and more couples are saying, yes, we want to honor tradition, but not at the cost of our own emotional or physical well-being. Bodily autonomy is becoming part of that conversation. So they are learning that in a healthy relationship, saying no isn't a betrayal, it's a form of truth telling, and saying yes should always come from freedom, not pressure. I think this boldness, I would say, is something required in the present, the situations, the culture, for us to move forward as a nation, as Sri Lankans. And Actually, what we are seeing here, this is a quiet revolution,
Mm.
one that doesn't always reject culture, but reinterprets it through the lens of mutual care. It's not always easy, but there's resistance actually. There's a guilt, there's a weight of expectation, but still, couples are finding ways to build marriages where love is not just practiced, but also respected, felt, and freely given. That in itself is a beautiful form of cultural evolution, as per my view, Dish.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I remember, like, in line of what you're saying, and I remember this was like in the 1980s or 1990s, sorry, 1990s. I was doing research on commercial sex industry in Sri Lanka. And I remember talking to some of the married men, why are they going to sex workers? And I remember particularly now, how many years later, I still remember this. This one guy actually described sex with his wife as, women, they were telling like their wives are there and they are like, it's duty for her, it's an
Hmm.
obligation for her. And he described her like having sex with the wife is like having sex with a potato sack. There is no movement, there is no mutual pleasure. It's just she's just lying there. And
Hmm.
so I remember that. And so then you're talking, you articulated that it's no, people are a younger generation, they are becoming more autonomous and it's not just obligation based. So they
Yes.
are, women are also now understanding this is a healthy part of a lifestyle, healthy part of marriage. And and that within marriage, sex is not just an obligation, but it's also something to intimacy, brings people together, something that they enjoy together, right? And it's not
Yes,
just a
shared
duty, right?
experience. Absolutely.
Exactly.
This is the world that we are trying to create, aren't we, Dish?
Yes, exactly, exactly. And so that this understanding, I think is, I mean, I think you described that this is, it's a slow process and it's not a linear process, but you see changes, changes where, younger generation, when you talk about it, they're more open about discussing about their private life and also negotiating, right? Like being able to negotiate, being able to say no and yes, kind of, right? So that's a very good point that you brought out, Nilu. So one more like question with this. So Nilu, going in line with this, what role does education, social media, premarital counseling, aspects like that play in shaping healthier expectations around intimacy? What are your thoughts, Nilu?
Yeah, that's a very good question. This very timely question. Education, social media, and premarital counseling are becoming powerful forces in reshaping how we think about intimacy, especially for younger generations. First, education, when done right, obviously, gives people the language to talk about intimacy beyond just the physical aspect of it. So it helps us understand boundaries, emotional readiness, and the difference between healthy desire and harmful pressure. So I think there is a huge responsibility lies within the family, from the parents and also from the teachers, to fulfill this requirement. Actually, when schools or universities introduce topics like emotional intelligence, consent, and gender equality, they plant seeds in children's or students' minds for more respective relationships. Then, on the other hand, the social media, a double-edged sword, right? So while it can spread unrealistic fantasies, we all know about it, it also offers across two real stories, mental health awareness, relationship advice that many wouldn't hear in traditional settings, right? That's the plus side of it, the optimistic side of it. It opens up conversations that used to be locked behind shame, especially around trauma, consent, and emotional well being. Finally, when we talk about premarital counseling, it is becoming more accepted. Earlier, there was kind of a stigma around premarital counseling. I think some of the religious groups are, practically executing this, but not very often. This premarital counseling offers couples a safe space to talk about expectations, fears, values before any possible conflict begins. So, when guided well, it helps couples to align not just on love, but on respect, communication, and emotional safety. I think together, these three forces, like these three very strong forces, are slowly helping people unlearn myths and create healthier, more informed, and more compassionate expectations around intimacy. This is actually this is what every relationship deserves, isn't it? So I think that is a very good sign.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that what you highlighted is really important because when we were growing up, we didn't have multimedia. We couldn't go and Google and learn. And in schools, they really didn't cover these kinds of concepts. And I remember in school, like they didn't cover something, and I heard about close by to our where we lived, a girl was raped, and I heard my parents talking about it, and I thought it was grape, and I heard it as grape. I didn't know what it was because in our culture those days we didn't talk about these kinds of issues. And I was like 13 years old and 13 or 14, and I didn't know anything. And I remember like going to my dictionary and trying to look at, and then of course the English translation was dushane, which is could be environment or environment pollution. It just said pollution, and so I was not aware. And I remember clearly, actually, it was Anupa who actually gave me my education, understanding on sex education. And so of course we are both children and we didn't know about everything, and I had so many questions. And of course Anupa also had her limited knowledge, but I got it from her, and there was nobody else I could go to ask about these things, right? We learn from each other. We learn from that because we didn't have that easy access. Now if anybody wants to type learn about marital rape or something like that, all they need to do is go and Google, right? So that's, I think, um it has its advantages, like you said. Of course it also, there is a lot of pornography, there is all kinds of things out there that can
Hmm.
give an misguided view of what marriage and sex life in a marriage
It's all
is.
about.
And so exactly, and so then people can have this um a completely unrealistic understanding that can also happen. But I think in schools also nowadays they teach it. I think they cover much more about those aspects also. So I think that's a good thing. um,
And parents also, they are educated, and nowadays they share their experience, and they give opportunities for their kids to learn more than what we have learned from our parents. Yeah.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
they share during maybe their dinner time, they share their experience, and make that conflicts issues are natural in human relationships, even marriage, so nothing is perfect. So these
Mm,
discussions, I think, leads to a broader view on life and marriage.
Exactly.
So I think in some areas today, the younger generation are more benefited and lucky, yeah, than us, isn't it?
yes, absolutely. Even though the marriage rates are declining nowadays, there is a tendency building up towards living together concept even in cultures like Sri Lanka. But even so, I think this very topic about marital rape, about the consent, about about love, about agreement, and about saying yes, is a very important, fascinating, as well as timely topic for anyone in younger generation.
Manase Katha.